Hey everyone, my name is Matt Lawson. I'm here today with Carla Bonner. We're here to talk about CSL tainted blood, and it's something that not a lot of Australians are aware of. It's something that's happened around the world, where particular companies, including the Red Cross, were collecting blood samples and taking blood from people right around the world and moving it into different areas to be used in transfusions and other things. And Carla's here today to speak. She actually lost her dad in 1986. And I was just going to pass it over to Carla to tell her story.
Thanks, Matt. Oh, this makes me feel really ill because I've just learned this information in the last 4 weeks since we've been here in lockdown in Victoria. And I came across this through hearing your conversation, Matt, with Charles Mackenzie. Well, I was alerted to your conversation by someone who knew what this would mean to me. So I've been sitting here for the last 4 weeks trying to process this, like it's like trying to swallow a really bitter pill, right? I'm just disgusted. So, okay, so as you know, as people may or may not know, yeah, I lost my father to HIV/AIDS in 1986. He acquired this through a blood transfusion or transfusions that he had between the years 1980 to 85. And we don't know which of the transfusions it was that infected him. But I do know that the Australian Red Cross were managing the blood supplies at the time that my father had his blood transfusions. And so what I've learned through this is that what I believed was an accidental contamination is potentially not accidental at all. The Australian authorities, they knew that the blood supplies were compromised with viruses and pathogens, and one of the most deadly ones being the hepatitis C. And they never said anything. They never said anything. They never did anything about this.
Yeah, and I spoke to you a little bit earlier about it, that the company that was involved with it as well is CSL, which is our biggest pharmaceutical company in Australia. They're actually the ones that are involved with the vaccine that's coming up. But part of what they were doing with Red Cross and other collection agencies is they were doing it through Asian countries. And Asian countries have a lot of hepatitis C throughout their collection areas. And that became particularly apparent when I was talking to Charles Mackenzie as well. On top of that, they were getting blood supplies from people who are drug users, people off the streets. It was coming from all different types of areas.
And also too, like the fact that the hepatitis infections were happening way before AIDS as well. Like this has been going on for so long, and of thousands of victims of this infected blood, right? And you've got what have we got? We've got adults, children, we've got victims of accidents like car accidents, motorbike accidents, people that are sick, anemic, pregnant women, women that have given birth, and haemophiliacs, right? And there are so many of these people that have lived with these serious health conditions for many, many years, 30, 40 years now, and they've never known. They've never known, right? So I want answers for them too.
And yeah, for sure. Because I think when you go through that list of the type of people, from the haemophiliacs to the pregnant ladies, a lot of these people are already compromised. So they already have systems that aren't functioning in the right way at that particular time. And then you're putting in blood that's tainted. And by the sounds of it, the company knew that they were bringing this blood in, which was tainted. And the thought process here in Australia right now, that we're sitting here and we're not aware of this. I spoke to a lot of people when Charles brought this up, and I saw you come up on my Instagram page, and you mentioned your dad, and I was just like, there must be so many thousands of people that just aren't aware of what's been happening here, because you were saying earlier, 1,700 alone in Australia, haemophiliacs were affected by this. If you then look out into people that had families with HIV, pregnancies, car crashes and everything else, there'd be a huge amount of people that are actually affected by what's happening.
Thousands and thousands of people that have grown up without parents, and people that have suffered unnecessarily. Like,
Yeah.
this sickens me, and to think that I didn't have to, it seems I didn't have to grow up without my dad. You know?
Yeah.
And
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's overwhelming to think that if things had been done in a different way, if things had been investigated properly when it first came up and people were aware of it in the early 80s, that, you know, you wouldn't have lost your dad at that time, and other families wouldn't have kids orphaned, and all the horrible things that have happened.
it's just disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. So I guess what I'm wanting to do also is to urge people that, you know, if you think that you've been affected, or you know someone that has, to get in contact with the Infected Blood Australia group, and they can help you to get answers, or join the Royal Commission, and the demand for Royal Commission, and get some answers that we all deserve, right?
Yeah, yep. Their website is actually, it's pretty easy, infectedbloodaustralia.com. They've got a section there where you can sign up to be a part of this as well. And I think you were mentioning earlier as well that it's actually in a lot of countries. So the UK's got something happening right now, but it's into Canada, a lot of the other Commonwealth countries. The fact that CSL is involved in this, and you were talking earlier about the fact that they are doing our vaccines as well.
Well, that's right. Okay, so let me give you this analogy, right?
Yep.
Well, basically, we're staring down the barrel of a potential mandatory COVID vaccine manufactured by CSL, right? Now, this is the analogy. So you go to the airport, okay? There is one airline, only one airline that you are allowed to take. Now, connected to this airline is a mystery regarding 1,750 passengers unaccounted for. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this company, they have all the answers, and they know exactly the truth, but they keep that from us, right? We have no right to know this, but you still have to board that flight, right? And if anything happens, this company, this airline, they are still protected by law. They have indemnity against prosecution. They don't have to answer anything. In the case of death, or, you know, severe health implications as a result of the flight, they don't need to give you any answers, right? Nothing. Hence, hence tens of thousands of people still 30, 40 years later without answers. Well, the same thing, it'll happen again. They don't have to tell us anything. So there will be absolutely no recourse for you or your family with regard to answers, right?
Yeah.
So, would you board this flight?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I love the way that all sort of sits in together, because we're actually at the point now, we're at the precipice where they're saying this vaccine is going to be out by November this year, and CSL is going to be the one manufacturing it, and the Prime Minister is saying it's going to be as close to mandatory as possible, which is basically saying if you don't take it, you won't be able to go on flights, you won't be able to go to sports events, you won't be able to have your kids in childcare. And this is coming from a company that has not just what happened with the infected blood in the 80s and 90s, but also they've had other vaccine problems in the 2010s, 2014. So recently they've had vaccine issues as well. But I think what you're doing, and Charles McKenzie and these other people around the world, by bringing this to light, is very brave. And it's something we need to do. I won't let this happen on my watch with a company that hasn't been brought to justice for what they've done to families, other people around the world.
Exactly, Matt. It's like, surely it's fair and reasonable that CSL are made to answer these questions before we go about this crazy business of mandatory vaccine, like manufactured by them. How are we? I don't get it, right? I just don't get how this has happened. How did this happen? This is Australia. How did this happen in my country? This devastates me that that Australian authorities knew about this and this could have been prevented and it wasn't, and they let this happen. And we still have no answers, right?
No.
So now there is, yes, this inquiry in the UK, and yes, it's happened in Canada, Ireland and Scotland. And with us being part of the Commonwealth, it's our turn now too, right? Surely we must have these questions answered, and it must be done by way of Royal Commission. It's only fair. Like, we're Australian, for God's sake. Like,
100%. I think, I said it to Charles the other day, and I'll say it to you now. It's one of these things that I feel so passionate about that we won't let it rest. And the idea of today is we want as many people as possible to speak up who have lost someone to Hep C, HIV/AIDS throughout the 80s, 90s, throughout that time frame. We want people to jump onto infectedbloodaustralia.com. If you're not affected by what's happened, you can go on there and sign up to push for this Royal Commission to happen. So I think it's something that we're not going to let go of. I think it's something we're going to push forwards with very heavily, and we're going to get the information out to as many people as possible.
Well, we need to, Matt, and it's also that thing of shame, right? So there are a lot of people that are suffering in silence, and that's through shame, through the stigma attached to these diseases and viruses and things, and it's horrendous. And I lived with it myself, and it doesn't serve us. Like, we need to lift the lid on that shame and just demand answers because we deserve them. Like, don't let shame keep you silent. There are people there to support you. Like, come out. Let's do this.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said. I think for anyone who's out there and listening, just step up, stand up now, and we'll be here with you. We'll be here with open arms, and we'll bring you into the family, the tribe, and we'll get this sorted out as soon as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you so much for helping me.
Yeah. No worries, Carla. Thank you so much for speaking up, and I'm sure we'll speak again. And everyone out there, infectedbloodaustralia.com. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.